family, you know, come from fishing stock. And my father and uncles were fishermen. In fact, the whole family was on that side of the family, on the Italian side. So they were fishermen, and they come from that heritage island, Italian fishing heritage in Stromboli in Sicily. So yeah, it was part of my life that I took for granted that other people possibly might have thought was a bit different. As a kid, we were always down on the boat. We'd go down there and climb the rigging, and we'd be mucking around the wheelhouse with Dad, and we'd be diving off the boat, and we'd spend a lot of time down at the wharves, and half the time we were told to get out. You know, people were telling you off, get the hell out of here. But then we had a lot of great adventures down there. But what I used to love was you'd be up on the port beachfront, and you'd be kicking a football around, and you'd see your father coming home. You'd see the boats would all be coming out the same. It was a visually really something to see all these trawlers coming in one after the other, and you'd see the seagulls wheeling up above, and the gannets, and it was a great feeling. And you'd either take off down to see them come in, because you used to watch the fish be unloaded and the ice go on, or else you'd completely ignore it most of the time, but you just knew, oh, the boat was in. And there'd be storms, and early on, I remember as a boy, they had ship to shore radio, and Dad was staying out nights, and every evening there'd be call signs, and you'd have a call sign, and you'd have to call in, and you'd have to give your call sign, and you'd listen for your father. You'd listen for the ships, the boats, and several times boats didn't call in, and they were tragedies, and tragedies occurred, and the whole community was involved, and the whole of Ahuriri felt it. And for weeks, that, you know, there's a lot of compassion for the fishermen down there. It was a working class area, and it was very much part of your life. That was sort of quite an emotional thing, you know. So you'd listen into I think the guy was Bill Vinton, and he'd call up the ships every night at sea. We called them ships, boats, the fishing boats. But yeah, big working class fraternity. There was a whole enclave of watersiders. That was the place to live if you worked at the wharf, if you were engineers at the wharf, if you were if you just laboured at the wharf. And of course the other big employee was the you don't see it a lot now at all, were the sheds, the wool sheds. That was a big employer, and I had an uncle in one of the wool sheds, and that was seen as a good position, a good place to go into. They paid you well. It was seasonal in effect. But if you had a permanent job, like my uncle who was in charge of the books, then you had a good job, and it was a respected job. And the other big employee down there doesn't exist anymore, the National Tobacco Company. Big employer, had relations that worked there. So you had a share in all of it, and you felt wherever you went, you know, you were part of the community. Something you didn't feel when you went into town, that was ailing. You know, that was like, you'd go in there for the Saturday movie, and you'd enjoy that, but and as for the people up on the hill, well, in those days, that was Nob Hill, no doubt about it. I've got a lot of mates up there now with foreign accents, but that was Nob Hill in those days, and never the twain shall meet. You wouldn't go up there. Well, you would, of course. You'd sneak up there, but yeah, that was the glitterazzi set up on top. It was very much working class down below, and yeah.